The rain hammered against the windshield as Marcus Chen gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles white against the worn leather. In the back seat, his 6-year-old daughter Lily pressed her face against the window, her breath fogging up the glass as she watched the storm rage outside. It was past 9 on a Thursday night, and they were driving home from her dance recital, just the two of them, as it had been for the past 3 years since cancer had stolen his wife away. Marcus had promised himself that night, standing beside Sarah's hospital bed, that he would be enough for their daughter, that he would fill the empty spaces in her life with twice the love, twice the presence. Some days he wasn't sure he was succeeding, but every night, when Lily wrapped her small arms around his neck and whispered, "I love you." "Daddy," he found the strength to try again. Tonight should have been simple. Recital, ice cream, home, bedtime story. But life, Marcus had learned, rarely followed the script you wrote for it. The strip mall parking lot was nearly deserted when Marcus pulled in, the neon lights of the late-night convenience store flickering weakly against the downpour. He just needed to grab milk for tomorrow's breakfast. 5 minutes, maybe less. He turned to Lily, who was already unbuckling her seatbelt. "Stay here, sweetheart. Lock the doors. I'll be right back." "Okay, Daddy," she said, but something in her voice made him pause. She was staring out the window, her small face creased with concern. "What is it, baby?" "That lady," Lily pointed to the far corner of the parking lot, where the lights barely reached. She looked scared. Marcus followed his daughter's gaze. Through the sheets of rain, he could make out a woman backed against a car, her arms wrapped protectively around what looked like shopping bags. 2 men loomed over her, their postures aggressive, predatory. Even from this distance, Marcus could see her shaking her head, trying to edge away. Every instinct told him to look away, to get the milk, get his daughter home, stay out of trouble. He had Lily to think about. He couldn't risk getting hurt, couldn't leave her without any parent at all. It was the logical choice, the safe choice, the choice any reasonable single father would make. But then the woman stumbled and one of the men grabbed her arm. "Daddy," Lily's voice was small but firm. "Please help her." Marcus looked at his daughter, at those wide brown eyes that still believed. The world was a place where people did good things. At 6 years old, she still thought heroes were real. And maybe, Marcus thought, maybe they needed to be. "Stay in the car, Lily. Lock the doors. Do not get out no matter what. Do you understand me?" His voice was harder than he'd intended, but fear did that to a person. "I understand." She clicked the locks as he stepped out into the rain. The cold water hit him like a slap, soaking through his shirt in seconds. Marcus jogged across the parking lot, his heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. He wasn't a fighter. He was a software engineer who spent his days debugging code and his nights making dinosaur-shaped pancakes. The last physical confrontation he'd been in was a shoving match in high school, 20 years ago. "Hey!" His voice came out stronger than he felt. "Leave her alone!" Both men turned. They were younger than Marcus, maybe mid-20s, wearing hoodies that shadowed their faces. The woman, Asian, middle-aged, trembling, looked at him with desperate, grateful eyes. "Mind your business, old man," one of them said, the taller of the two. His friend laughed, a sound that raised the hair on Marcus's arms. "I've already called the police," Marcus lied, reaching slowly for his phone. "They're on their way." Bullshit. The second man moved toward him, fast, too fast. What happened next was a blur that Marcus would replay in his mind 1,000 times over the following days. The man swung at him. Marcus ducked, pure instinct, no skill, and the fist whistled past his ear. He shoved back, hard, and the guy stumbled on the wet pavement. The other one came at him from the side, and Marcus spun, his elbow connecting with something solid. There was a grunt of pain. They were circling him now, and Marcus realized with crystal clarity that he was going to get hurt, possibly badly. But the woman was running toward the store, screaming for help, and that meant she was safe. That meant this mattered. The tall one rushed him, slamming into Marcus's midsection and driving him backward into a parked car. The impact knocked the air from his lungs, and pain exploded across his shoulders. Marcus grabbed the man's hoodie, using his weight to pull him off balance, and they both went down onto the wet asphalt. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. The men must have heard them too, because suddenly they were running, disappearing into the darkness between buildings. Marcus lay on the ground, rain pooling around him, his ribs screaming, trying to remember how to breathe. "Daddy!" Lily's voice cut through everything. She was there suddenly, her small hands on his face, and he realized she'd gotten out of the car despite his orders. "Daddy, are you okay?" "Daddy, please be okay." "I'm okay, baby," he managed, sitting up slowly. Everything hurt, but nothing felt broken. "I'm okay." The woman approached cautiously, her phone pressed to her ear. "The police are coming." The store clerk called them. "Are you all right?" Thank you so much." "They were trying to take my purse, my phone, everything." "Thank you." Marcus just nodded, pulling Lily close. She was crying, soaking his already wet shirt with her tears, and he held her tighter than he probably should have. "It's okay, sweetheart. Everything's okay now." The police arrived within minutes. Statements were taken. The woman was checked by paramedics who appeared shortly after. Marcus refused medical attention. Despite the officer's urging, he had decent insurance through work, but an ambulance ride wasn't in this month's budget. The woman, whose name he learned was Margaret Liu, kept thanking him, kept trying to give him her contact information. But Marcus just wanted to go home, wanted to get Lily out of the rain, into dry clothes, into bed where the world was safe and small and manageable. By the time they got home, it was nearly midnight. Marcus made hot chocolate, even though his hands were shaking too badly to pour without spilling. Lily sat at the kitchen table in her pajamas, watching him with those serious eyes. "Mommy would be proud of you," she said quietly. Marcus's chest tightened. He set down the cocoa and knelt beside her chair. Mommy would have been terrified, and then she would have helped that lady too, because that's what good people do, even when they're scared. "Were you scared, Daddy?" "Terrified," he admitted. "But you know what? That lady needed help more than I needed to be safe. Sometimes that's how it works." Lily nodded, processing this with the gravity only children can muster for life's big lessons. "Can I sleep in your bed tonight?" "Absolutely." The next morning came too quickly. Marcus woke to sunlight streaming through the bedroom window, and the sharp ache of muscles he'd forgotten he had. Lily was still asleep beside him, one arm thrown over his chest in fierce protection. He smiled despite the pain and carefully extracted himself to start coffee. He was standing at the kitchen counter, checking his work emails and wondering if he could make it through the day on ibuprofen alone, when his phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Marcus Chen?" The voice was professional, female, with an accent he couldn't quite place. "Yes? Mr. Chen, my name is Jennifer Park. I'm calling on behalf of Mrs. Margaret Liu. I'm her executive assistant, Mrs. Liu. Would very much like to speak with you in person, if you're available today." Marcus frowned. "That's really not necessary. I'm just glad she's okay." "Mr. Chen," the woman's voice warmed slightly, "Mrs. Liu is quite insistent. And when Margaret Liu is insistent, things tend to happen. Would 11 o'clock work for you?" Something in her tone suggested this wasn't really a request. Marcus glanced at his calendar. He had meetings he could reschedule. "I suppose I could make that work." "Excellent. I'll text you the address." "And Mr. Chen? You might want to dress business casual." The line went dead before he could ask what that meant. The address led him to a gleaming high-rise in the financial district, all glass and steel reaching toward the sky. Marcus stood on the sidewalk, double-checking the text message. This couldn't be right. Margaret Liu, the woman from the parking lot, worked here. The lobby was even more intimidating. Marble floors, modern art that probably cost more than his car, a security desk that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. He approached hesitantly, suddenly very aware of his department store suit and the bruise blooming along his jaw. "Marcus Chen to see Margaret Liu," he said to the guard, who looked him up and down before checking his computer. 42nd floor. Someone will meet you at the elevator." The elevator ride felt like ascending to another world. When the doors opened, Jennifer Park was waiting, a woman in her 30s with a crisp smile and an iPad clutched to her chest. "Mr. Chen, thank you for coming. Right this way, please." She led him through an office space that screamed money and power. People moved with purpose, their eyes on screens, their conversations conducted in the hushed tones of important business. At the end of a long hallway, Jennifer stopped before a set of double doors. "Mrs. Liu is expecting you." She knocked once and pushed the door open. The office was enormous, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of the entire city. And there, rising from behind a desk that could have served as a dining table, was the woman from the parking lot. But she looked different now, her hair pulled back, wearing a tailored suit, radiating an authority that made Marcus's breath catch. "Mr. Chen," she said, coming around the desk with her hand extended. "Thank you for coming. Please, sit." Marcus shook her hand, noticing the firm grip, and sat in one of the leather chairs facing her desk. "Mrs. Liu, I appreciate the invitation, but this really wasn't necessary. Anyone would have done the same thing." Her expression suggested she disagreed. "Mr. Chen, do you know what I do?" He shook his head. "I'm the CEO of Liu Holdings. We're a venture capital firm that invests in technology startups. Last night, I was at that convenience store because my car broke down 2 blocks away. I called for a ride, but while I was waiting, those men saw an opportunity. They didn't know who I was. They just saw a woman alone in the dark." She sat on the edge of her desk, her eyes never leaving his face. "In my line of work, I meet hundreds of people who tell me they have integrity, who promise they'll do the right thing when it matters. Last night, you showed me what that actually looks like. You put yourself between me and danger. You have a daughter. I saw her run to you. You risked leaving her without a father, and you did it anyway." Marcus swallowed hard. "She's exactly why I did it. I want her to grow up believing in heroes. Then she's a lucky girl." Margaret returned to her chair, pulling out a folder. "I did some research on you, Mr. Chen. I hope you don't mind. Software engineer, 10 years at TechSource Solutions. Good performance reviews, loyal employee, and a single father for 3 years." "Yes, ma'am." "How would you feel about a change?" The question caught him off guard. "I'm sorry?" "One of our portfolio companies is a cybersecurity startup. They're brilliant at what they do, but they need someone to help build their team, mentor their junior engineers, bring some stability to their development process. It's a senior position. The pay is significantly better than what you're making now. Can have Jennifer send you the details, and the benefits include a childcare stipend, flexible hours, and equity in the company." Marcus stared at her. "Mrs. Liu, I can't accept this." "You don't owe me anything." "You're right. I don't owe you." Her smile was gentle. "But I invest in people I believe in, Mr. Chen. People with character, with courage. Last night, in that parking lot, you showed me exactly who you are. I'd be a fool not to invest in that. I have a daughter to think about. I can't take a risk on a startup that might not. The salary is guaranteed, regardless of company performance. And frankly, this startup is going to be very successful. I don't invest in maybes." She slid the folder across the desk. "Take it home. Look it over. Talk to your daughter if you want. This offer will be here when you're ready." Marcus opened the folder with shaking hands. The number at the top of the contract made his vision blur. It was nearly double his current salary. With this, he could afford better schools for Lily, could save for her college, could finally fix the leak in the bathroom he'd been patching for 6 months. "Why?" he asked quietly. "Why me? There must be hundreds of engineers more qualified." Margaret leaned forward. "Mr. Chen, I didn't build this company by playing it safe or by surrounding myself with people who do. I built it by recognizing character when I see it and betting on people who do the right thing even when it's hard. Last night, you were a stranger who had every reason to drive away. Instead, you stepped into the rain." She paused. "That's the kind of person I want in my orbit." Marcus felt his throat tighten. For 3 years, he'd been running on empty, trying to be enough, trying to fill the space Sarah had left. And here was this woman, this stranger, telling him he was more than enough, that who he was mattered. "I'll look it over," he managed. "And thank you for this and for seeing something worth investing in." Thank you for reminding me that there are still good people in the world. Margaret stood, extending her hand again. Call Jennifer when you've made your decision. And Mr. Chen, tell your daughter that her father is exactly the kind of hero she thinks he is. That evening, Marcus sat on the couch with Lily curled against his side, the contract spread on the coffee table in front of them. He'd explained it in terms she could understand. New job, more money, better opportunities. She'd listened with that serious expression, nodding at the right moments. "Will you still make me dinosaur pancakes?" she asked when he finished. Marcus laughed, ignoring the way it made his bruised ribs protest. "Every Saturday. That's a promise. Then I think you should take it, Daddy." She looked up at him with Sarah's eyes. "Mommy always said the universe rewards good people. Maybe this is your reward." He kissed the top of her head, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. "You know what? I think you're right." 2 weeks later, Marcus started his new position. The work was challenging, the team was brilliant, and for the first time in years, he felt like he was building something that mattered. Margaret checked in occasionally, always professional but warm, and gradually became something like a mentor. But more than the job, more than the financial security, what stayed with Marcus was something Lily had said that rainy night in the parking lot. "Daddy, please help her." 4 simple words. From a 6-year-old who still believed in doing the right thing, who believed her father was capable of being a hero. In the end, that's what had changed everything. Not his actions in that parking lot, but the fact that his daughter had seen someone who needed help and asked him to be brave. And he had been, for her, for the stranger, for the man he wanted to be. Sometimes, Marcus thought, that's all any of us can do. Step into the rain, take down our fears, help when help is needed, and hope that somewhere, someone is watching who will see not just what we did, but who we chose to be when it mattered most. The universe, it turned out, was indeed watching. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it sends you Margaret Liu with a contract and a belief that good people deserve good things. But mostly, it sends you home to a 6-year-old who wraps her arms around your neck and whispers, "I'm proud of you, Daddy." And that, Marcus had learned, was the real reward all along.